Welcome to another week of Beyond the Final Whistle with myself, Sanani Mangisa. We're ready to unpack a variety of sports this week, and we've got one of my favorite armchair critics joining us today. You might have seen him throwing some banter around on the social networks. Tulu Matungwana joins us this week, together with season regular Utseb. Please join in on the conversation, hashtag Beyond the Final Whistle, and tag @GridSports. Morné Morkel has announced his retirement at the end of the series. Some would say he fell short of his full potential. In terms of South African terms, he's ranked in the top 5 bowlers. And I think I'd love to hear your take on, could we have got more out of Morné minus the injuries, or was he just enough to play that anchor role and get wickets?
I suspect that Morné's been pushed out a little bit because certainly in the recent series with India, he bowled exceptionally well. Mm-hmm. He's in the past, yes, failed to inspire, but he does seem to have hit a bit of a rich vein of form. But the difficulty is that we have unearthed a new star.
A few
young Gidi. I think the plan with him was to build him up over the next 2 seasons. An opportunity came and the kid shut the lights out. So now he's impossible to drop. And the situation then would have been Morné versus Dale. And I think Dale's not quite ready to hang up the boots. And Morné might find himself in England a little earlier than he might have wanted.
Yeah, I see it a bit differently. As you said, yeah, he has been in a good, vein of form lately. But I think also leaving on your own terms. I think that's always the best way to go out. So maybe he's made the good decision of calling it early. He did note and say family reasons. And we don't know what's going on there.
We've seen Ross Kelly, the wife, does Big Bash League in Australia, so that could come into play.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of like, yes, these stars are coming and being unearthed. At the same time, maybe a combination of that and family ties are keeping you away from the game.
No, absolutely. So in saying he's been pushed out, I don't mean literally, he's been told to retire, but I get the sense that there's been a conversation, and he has decided, actually, maybe this is my time to move on before much more candid conversations I had.
No, for sure. So these guys are now reaching their end. We will see Dale maybe in a few years. I don't know how long Dale's going to play for. He hasn't finished the series in the last 2 seasons, I think. Yeah. The experience that these guys walk away with, and our youngsters haven't travelled to your Indian continent, subcontinents, is that going to leave a bit of a hole, or can we back these boys and go, they'll do what they need to do on their first and second tour, and then come good, later on their future tours?
There's that saying of there's no shop that sells experience,
No, there isn't. That's the thing. We will miss these guys.
Yeah, definitely. But I think times are changing, and I think these kids can adapt quicker than probably previously.
Yeah.
And you'll see now with them going there more often with IPL and things like that, they'll be fine. In a year or two. They'll be fine.
Absolutely. And what is important is to have the pipeline of knowledge transfer, and you'll notice a lot of the time, especially in the tests, they'll have Werner Fernandez standing at mid-off, constantly talking.
And Morné as well.
Yeah.
You'll see them walking back and forth with the guys. So I think
to the youngsters. So.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of chat going on, and definitely passing on the experience.
With the talk of experience in youth, we see a test match starting. I need you guys to give me the teams. No holding back, no. Everyone's fit. The basket is full. Everyone's fit.
Is everyone fit?
Is everyone fit?
That's the question.
I'm going for now. Everyone's fit. Give me a team, because Upavuma passed his fitness test by scoring 80 in the Soweto game. Who do you go with, guys?
I think I'd go with the same lineup.
Sure.
Against India, depending where we play. depending on spin or not, but I'll go with 5 quicks if we on a good pitch.
I saw an Instagram post today of Dale staying in the net.
He could squeeze in there. He could squeeze in there. But I was saying, if he's fit and ready, let's see how he does.
Answer the question, Kobe.
There's 5 seamers.
Yeah, five
Answer the
seamers.
question.
In Joburg, 5 seamers.
You said 5 seamers. Ooh.
Dale,
Okay.
Vern, Rabada, Gidi, and I would put Morris. Personally.
Ahead of Morning.
Oh, and Morning was okay. I've already booked him out. Yeah, with Morning. Go with 5 kicks, and then Bavuma in 6 batsmen.
5 seamers, guys. Let's start there with Adele, who has not finished a full series. And that, like, we don't want to highlight it, and Adele says he's a good guy, but the facts are facts. You know, he's a guy. You have 5 seamers. Adele hasn't finished the series. If anything, now he leaves.
And there is absolutely no part-timer even as a, can turn the wrist or
take the weight off the front guys, when
Dean
they need to
Elgar?
rest.
I don't think I've ever seen Dean
Abby
he does.
Abby can bring himself
in
on.
a test match.
He does bowl a bit.
Okay, cool, on the spot.
Oh goodness! Why do we not try De Kock as an opener thing in?
It's
in
too
test
much.
matches?
It's
Why?
way too much. You can't open the bat again.
Why?
So if he has to bat the whole day, and then keep the next day the whole day, and then open the batting again the whole, that's rough. That's rough. Kuma, but Kuma used to come in down the order, 3-4. At least he's got those couple of hours in the morning. So it's Dean Markram,
Dean and Malcolm to open.
So, yeah.
Hash,
AB,
Faf.
Faf.
Who's your 6? Me, I'll say AB.
I'm not happy about leaving
It's
Temba.
quite a tough call.
I'm not happy about leaving Temba.
You can't leave Temba out. You don't want to leave Temba out.
AB to keep.
He doesn't want the
to.
gloves.
He doesn't want to. We've been that conversation.
Especially in a test match. He wants nothing to do with the gloves in the test match. So you almost have to pick De Kock. Then it becomes
To bat at 6.
see, that's where the debate would be for me. Has Temba got the ability and temperament to develop at the very top of the order? If we believe he could become an opener, then I think that's an experiment worth delving into. Though, I mean,
we can't expect him against the baggy greens now. So
the Markram kid has shown
should have put it undecided.
very, very extraordinary.
Very undecided. 12 players. We've got 12 players.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think you've heard the pundits there.
Yeah.
We've got 12 players come Thursday, and I think it's going to be a tough one for selectors as it is for the players. Past 2 weeks of Super Rugby have seen one name and one name alone. We've heard him on everyone's lips. Apiwe Gyanj. The kid is a talent, raw talent, skill, and athleticism. I'm gonna get the guys to chip in here and just give me one word to describe him.
Complete.
Yeah.
Complete. The kid is composed, he can defend, he can run. He looks like he's been playing all his life. That kid is a stud, guys. I don't think we need to do anything. He needs to play.
Let him play.
I just want to enjoy the rest of the season of Super Rugby. I just want to watch him play because every time he touches the ball, something happens. And I haven't seen anything like this. Like, we can compare it to, was Brian Habana this good at this stage of his career in Super Rugby?
Kulu, what's your take on that? You've seen a lot of rugby players come and go.
In a word, magic, right? We've long lamented how limited our wingers are in South Africa. We've had no shortage of athletes. Nokwe, Shavanga, even Habana. We've had no shortage, really, of boys who were shifting. But guys who actually... But the boy grew up as a fly. He played 18 fly his entire life. And in fact, the move to wing was something that completely turned him off and he wanted to quit, right? But the fact that we have a winger who has all the instincts and ability of a genuine flower, it's extraordinary. The boy does absolutely everything.
So you called...
And we've seen enough. As far as I'm concerned, I've seen enough.
You said complete?
I said complete.
Magical.
Said magical. I'm gonna go with mercurial. He is everything, but I'm the one who's not too keen on him starting at box in June. I think that's way too soon for him. I think he needs to play a full season, get him to the bench, and bleed him in. Don't just throw the kid in there for the Rico Ioannis and the Nohodas of this world.
So Tepa's taken it to where I wanted to take it.
Look after him.
Springbok rugby play England in June.
Yep.
Does he play?
This is my take on this. Is Gyanji better than the England wings and the Welsh wingers?
Yes, he is.
I've seen the England wingers.
very
I've seen the
dominant.
Welsh wingers. I've seen all the wingers in Six Nations. That kid is better than most of those wings there.
Absolutely.
That kid, what he did in the last 2 weekends, every time he touched the ball, offensively, defensively, high ball, I haven't seen it done by a rookie player in Super Rugby. It's
Guys, and let's not act like the boys come out of nowhere. Right? Like, yeah, it's only 2 games in. The reason he's man of the match in his first 2 games in Super Rugby is because he was a star in the Currie Cup last year. Yeah. And we've seen guys getting picked out of the Currie Cup to go tour with the Springboks. The boy is ready. How many games did Pollard play before they threw him in the deep end against the All Blacks? And
I'm not saying he's not a Springbok. I'm saying let's take it easy. Let's not throw him in there.
therefore there's no need to
Because
wait.
there's sharks out there. We need to
It's
bleed.
end of Feb, guys.
he's
End of
going to be
Feb.
playing against players who are not as good as the guys playing against week in.
So
week
hence
out.
I said to you on
He's
social
playing
media.
against Reko Ioane here,
As I
and-
said,
or Vince
let's
Asso.
give him
Those
the
guys are
Super
not going to
Rugby.
be as good as Vince Asso and Reko Ioane, and he would have played against them.
We're gonna see. That's the only way we're gonna see him against New Zealand players. We're gonna be bigger, faster, stronger.
So there's a school of thought that says nurture him, let him play more Super Rugby games, let him travel as well. Play Super Rugby games overseas, and come back. Tsepo's on that school. Kulo, you saying into the deep end, and he must play that test match.
That boy doesn't need nurturing, guys. That boy is already a talent. We just need to unearth him. Nurturing him is he must just unleash his potential, full potential in Super Rugby and in Test Rugby in June. There's nothing we need. He's already got everything that.
Yeah. I mean, if these performances were uncharacteristic and we knew nothing about him, then maybe. But what he's done in these first 2 weeks of Super Rugby are exactly what he's been doing at every other level before. Like, we've seen him take teams apart in Varsity Cup and be,
I'm going
the
to
star of the
challenge you a
Varsity
little
Cup.
bit there. Springbok, there's with athletes, you play provincial, you're playing well, you get to Springbok level or national level, there's a game plan that's slightly different. You're also doing a game plan to accommodate certain players and certain styles of play. So Rassie Rasmus has been earmarked as a coach.
Mm-hmm.
Is he going to allow, a Pure to play with this much freedom and this much flair? Could we see a situation where he's having to stick to a game plan or stifle that and not having this amount of freedom that to be able to play like that?
That goes to how well equipped a player is. Right? So he's no less able to thrive in any game plan that's given. If we were going to say Rassie is going to want to play an aerial game, and maybe Apiwa's aerial skills are a little shaky. His aerial skills are fantastic. If he's going to want to play a wide game, and we're not quite sure how he is, tracking across. He's shown us everything that we need to know in terms of if he's put in that position and given instruction. There's no reason why he wouldn't do as well as anyone else.
Can I jump in on that? Our biggest problem in South Africa is that we don't suit game plans towards our players. We don't fit a game plan to the players. So if you've got a Reko Ioane, they try to get him the ball. We've got a Pure Janji here. You'll find it if he goes to the box, they maybe won't even try to give him the, you know what I mean? Like, we don't use the game plan to sort of show our players who are skillful.
I just think that Apiwe is such a special talent. I think he'll come through however tough the situation is for him. I mean, we know the box. We don't even know the kind of backline they're going to pick for him in the box. Yeah. We're still in the dark. We don't know if they're going to bring back players from overseas to come and play in the June series. But what he's shown in the last 2 weeks, and of course last year in the Currie Cup, is that he can cope with any situation.
Yeah.
I mean, every level you throw him at, he raises the bar. I think this kid, for me, I've seen enough. I don't care if he doesn't play another game to say he's good enough. The thing is, in this country, we always muck about and try and find faults where there's no faults.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the problem. We over scrutinize and overthink things. There's no overthinking with Jaji. I mean, the proof is in the eating.
Yeah.
There's only one question that matters, right? If we're going to say, okay, put him, let him develop, put him on the bench. Who are you putting ahead of him? Who's better than him?
Thank you. Who's better than that kid now? We've got players.
You're gonna put Scosa in there? Who's better?
Fair question. Fair.
Who are you gonna
Who's
put?
better than them?
They'll probably take somebody from fullback, like they always do, and put him in the wing, and saying no, the kid doesn't have experience, which is those kind of excuses that you get in South African rugby. No, we try and protect him. Let's take a player out of position and let's put him on the wing. That's what happens in South African rugby, and that needs to stop. Anywhere else on earth, that kid plays for the All Blacks if he's that good. For Australia, he comes in.
So that England team we're playing has recently lost against Scotland, a very spirited Scotland. And I think if we look at that game, Scotland wanted it more.
They're a good
and they're
team.
they're a good team, they brought it on the day.
Yeah.
And gents, just your thoughts on that game.
Can I jump in?
Yeah.
First thing about the England game plan, we saw now how you can break them down.
Yeah.
Is at ruck ball. They just attacked the ruck ball and slowed it down, and it made it hard for them. Stole their ball, and then it all falls apart. But I think Eddie Jones needed that, and he'll come back with a counter.
You sort of need to lose one or two
to
as a
see
team,
where,
just to see where
your own weaknesses
exactly,
are. They got massacred on the ground, and I think you'll see now England try to keep the ball more in hand and or a little bit more up, maybe a little more mauling, mini mauls, more mauling and more mini mauls rather than going to ground, because Scotland just took them to pieces there.
If I was Steve Hansen, I'd actually be disappointed by that, by what happened on Saturday, because I would have wanted to have discovered that vulnerability about England and exploited it before anyone else
Someone
does.
else does, yeah.
Now, someone has shown Eddie Jones where he needs to work.
Yeah.
And that's one less area that you're going to be able to expose England, because he is going to prepare them adequately to not be attacked and exposed in that particular area again. That is that is the strength of his coach. Absolute preparation. Whether anyone else is going to be able to beat them again, we'll see. I don't think it.
Yeah, but Tulu, we saw the cracks against Wales, guys. I think let's not act like we were not watching England against Wales.
Yeah.
England play safe rugby. They play not to lose, and the Scots went at them and they didn't miss. Which is they haven't beaten England in the last 10 years. So the Scots came for them and they took them down. And we saw that England cannot play from behind. Like when the game was 22-6 up, England tried to chase the game. They were not creative enough because they play a safe game of rugby. They exploit mistakes. I think for England, they're probably happy, like you said, that this happened before a World Cup. But now everybody who watched, even the Wales game, I think Ireland are going to take England down as well. I think Ireland
They're
are
good to watch.
are better than Scotland, and they will take England down. If England continue playing this safe rugby of not wanting to lose, just playing compact and not defending and not spreading the ball, they're going to lose, because the teams are going to want to chase them and go ahead of them, because they can't chase games.
Where are they playing? In Dublin.
In Dublin, isn't it in Twickenham?
They're not going to beat them in Twickenham.
Look, Wales lost by 6 points at Twickenham, guys. It's not impossible.
Yeah.
And if you look at the current England, I mean, they've been on a winning streak for the last couple of years, and they've beaten everybody. They took down Australia in Australia, but now there's cracks because people are watching them.
They absolutely are cracks, but I think we also need to look at things in context. There's no transitivity right now. Like, we can't say because Wales did like this, then Ireland should be able. On the day, it's going to matter who they're up against, because England going into the season would have known that Ireland are probably their biggest competition in this tournament. So they will have gone in. They'll go into that game knowing that if anyone was going to take them down, it is going to be Ireland, and they're not going to. One of the reasons they came unstuck on Saturday is because they were napping in the first half of the first
Guys, but
half.
we're being unfair here. we're being unfair. We're saying how bad
Scotland,
England played.
yeah.
How
Yeah.
bad England played. Yeah, Scotland played well.
Scotland were fantastic.
Scotland played very well. Hugh Jones.
But Baba Kubuli,
Hugh Jones had a storm.
Hugh Jones was fantastic. Yes, no one's taking credit away from
Nobody's
from
taking-
Scotland for a second. But surely we've got to recognize that overall, objectively, England are the better team. Yeah. If those two teams play against each other 10 times, England are going to win at least 7 of those games. Right? But on that particular day, Scotland stepped it up, and they did it by coming out of the blocks like a house on fire, and they were then able to maintain that lead. Ireland are not going to be able to. Like they're not going to be able to take them down early at Twickenham.
If you come for the king, you can't miss. That's what they did. I've got the wire. I'm putting the wire for you. If you come for that's what the Scots said. They were so brave. I mean, I mean, the history between Scotland and England before the rugby starts. I mean, it's been
140 years.
140 years, and it was probably the best day in Scotland. And as a fan, watching an underdog like that play with such heart, it was beautiful to watch.
It's amazing.
And
Gents, I think on that note, Duma has spoken and said, you got to go for the king, right?
If you go for the king,
you
can't
cannot
miss.
miss. You cannot
I
miss.
think it's going to be a mouth-watering encounter between Ireland and England. I'm putting my money on England. Sundowns are sitting right at the top of the log with Kaizer Chiefs third and right behind Sundowns, Orlando Pirates. This PSL, anyone can take it, guys. I want to hear from you who you think, with a few games left in the season, we've got about 8 games left in the season, who is going to be number 1 at the end of the season?
I think Sundowns is going to win the league.
Can they hold on?
I think they can. I don't know if there's going to be a side that's going to be consistent enough to close that gap. I know Pirates are playing very well at the moment. So if anyone is going to catch them, it probably will be Pirates. But for me, I think Sundowns have the experience. They've done this a few times now. And they've got a gap as well. I don't think anyone's going to catch them.
I agree with that. I think
How's that? The Sundowns fan agrees with that.
No, besides me being a fan, I think they've got the depth, they've got the experience, they've got the consistency this season. I don't see anybody else being able to catch them, and I agree with that. Orlando Pirates might be close by, but I don't
this
think.
This is the PSL, guys. The PSL. Look at the points difference now. The Pirates are 4 points behind. Chiefs are 5 points behind Sundowns. There's no games in hand. They played even number of games. Pirates have got momentum. What happened in PE on Sunday? Pirates have, you know, when the Pirates fans start buzzing, they're gonna fill up Orlando stadiums, and I don't think Pirates will drop points. It's a derby this week,
Yes.
and the Kaizer Chiefs fans are frustrated because they drop points. They saw Sundowns drop points the previous day and they dropped points, but Pirates came through and they won. I'm going for Pirates. I think Pirates are gonna surprise us. They won't drop points. They'll beat Chiefs this weekend and then carry the momentum and they'll win the league.
I think the one point that he's missing out on that is that Orlando Pirates is not so consistent. As much as they had a momentum this weekend, they have a tendency of kind of putting the brakes on in unnecessary moments, and I think they'll be under pressure this weekend. Beating Kune is not going to be easy, so I think this weekend is going to be a draw, and Sundowns is just going to extend that lead.
Let's throw it out there. The team that wins, okay, Chiefs are third and they're doing their business on and off. If Pirates wins this, does that give them confidence to go, we can chase, and we're still in it, actually. Not even chase, we're still in this.
Yeah.
That's how you win the league. You use the momentum. I think Pirates have got it. I think they've got the momentum. The way they played, I mean, they came through. We don't know most of those players. And Sundowns have got the depth, they've got the money, they can buy the top players.
They can buy Bolt.
They can buy balls. Chiefs are just inconsistent. You know, all we see is Steve Hombela with his jersey, and it's just frustrating to watch because.
But speaking of that inconsistency, at what point does the chairman, does Bobby go, guys, we need the results? So, the Chiefs have just been,
I don't think.
There has to be, you're accountable to shareholders, yes, it's a family business, but sponsors, at some point the results have to come, because one, your locker room is full of superstars, your payroll at the end of the month is exorbitant, and these guys need to bring out the goods now.
I mean, anyone can feel free to jump in here. I don't think Bobby Matang is a football man. In all honesty, I don't think he's in the business to win. I think you see Chiefs don't really have a transfer strategy. Chiefs don't really have, I guess, they don't set a high standard. The high standard that a lot of, I guess, Kaizer Chiefs fans grew up with.
Yeah.
In my opinion, since he's taken over, I think that standard has fallen short. So I don't think Kombela will ever be in a position where I think his job is under threat. I think it should. I think as someone who's coaching Kaizer Chiefs, you need to at least win one trophy a season and be under pressure to a point. I don't think Steve is under pressure, so I don't see any
It's
changes.
okay just to plateau.
I think they're happy.
Their position year on year.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think they're riding the wave of the legacy but aren't living the legacy. So the players that are there now are just riding this great wave of wearing this great badge, but are you living and understanding the legacy that you're carrying? And I don't think they've met the standard.
Should they clean up shop a little bit? You know, some players, we saw that in the last season, a few players had to go. Do you think it's also, you know, in the, you know, sometimes in the change room you have players who've been there, done that, and then they towards the end of their career they haven't been winning a lot, so that mentality stays there of we're just happy to do this. So you invigorate that change room with new youngsters who are wanting to win.
I think for me, it's do you clean shop and are you able to select the right people from the shop? So there's no point in cleaning out and then getting people in there that are not going to make the impact. So you need to be able to have a scout. Yeah, be able to buy smart.
If you go back to when Clive Baxter started coaching Chiefs, Kaizer Motaung actually came in and he cleaned up. He started buying players from scratch, from the defense. I think Bobby was still running the club. The club went through a bit of a lull. And then you saw the success of Kaizer Chiefs when Clive Baxter started coaching. He was handpicked by Kaizer. So this time, I think with Uchola being the coach and the players that we've got, they're buying players, ex-Sundowns players, and you know, it's not really gelling. You can see there's no chemistry there. Kaizer Chiefs need wholesale changes. Wholesale changes from the top down. I mean, there's a lot of guys that have been there that, you know, Chiefs is becoming a novelty and it's wearing off fast. Even watching them is not as exciting. You see the sparse crowds at FNB Stadium. It's empty. It's becoming a novelty. And Sundowns has overtaken them. And now we can see Pirates is overtaking them because they've still got that vibe.
I think the last decent Kaizer Chiefs side was the side that Stuart Baxter had.
Yeah.
But you can see even some of the players that he was able to get the best out of. And I'll use one player as an example, Bernard Parker. You know, I think under Stuart Baxter, he was a decent attacking player. Whereas I think I watched the game on Saturday. He's got 2 goals this season, and he's supposed to be one of the senior, I guess, attacking players in the Kaizer Chiefs squad. If you've got one of your senior attacking players with 2 goals in a league season that's coming to an end, it just means that you're not scoring enough goals across the team.
Guys, we're looking at the Celtic derby this weekend, and a game that's always come with a lot of draws, unfortunately. And being a fan of the NBA, we know the NBA goes to overtime, double overtime, triple overtime. Can we get to a situation where we say, second half of the season, maybe we throw it out there, the rules can change. Second half of the season, all games have to have a result. Are we going to see more competitive football? You don't want to go to penalties, you want that gamble, you start playing to win.
The risk there, Snacks, is that the players, the turnaround time and the recovery time of the players, you can't have players playing more than 90 minutes week in, week out. And plus the amount of trophies, because now we've got the Nedbank Cup.
Yeah, you've got trophies.
Yeah, so you've got trophies. So that would be the risk. I mean, other sports they can have, they'll ban out. Other sports you can have a shootout to get the 1 point. But I think we've had draws now for the last 3 consecutive derbies. 0-0 draws, not exciting
That's
draws.
the thing. It's becoming.
I think they're gonna break the duck this week. I've just got a feeling because it's out there. Players know it's a derby, and we've become as a football not a fraternity, like football supporters in this country. we only watch the derby.
Because as a player, you don't have to get hyped up for the derby. I mean, if you're needing to get hyped up for a derby, there's a problem because you should be anyway. It's like you hear the old school stories that they would stand in the tunnel and not even talk to each other. Now there's a little friendly banter and stuff, but it's become a little bit friendly. But old school derbies was the biggest thing, in the season. So these guys now, we get into a stage where it's just content to, okay, we drew.
Plus, there's no superstars between both teams. The thing is, superstars make teams. Once you've got a superstar in a team, he wants to win at all costs. We can look across all sports. Chiefs, who's the super sport? The last superstar Chiefs had was, I would say, Shuffle. I mean, who's the superstar at Chiefs? Who's the superstar at Pirates now?
Chiefs' superstar is Kune.
You see, we've got a goalkeeper.
Goalkeeper is a superstar.
Goalkeeper is the star of the team, which means we're going to be defensive. We're going to be, the focal point will be Kune and all his exes.
Goodness.
Sundowns are sitting right at the top of the log with Kaizer Chiefs third and right behind Sundowns, Orlando Pirates. This PSL, anyone can take it, guys. I want to hear from you who you think, with a few games left in the season, we've got about 8 games left in the season, who is going to be number 1 at the end of the season?
Okay, I'll go first, I guess. I think Sundowns is going to win the league.
Can they hold on?
I think they can. I don't know if there's going to be a side that's going to be consistent enough to close that gap. I know Pirates are playing very well at the moment. So if anyone is going to catch them, it probably will be Pirates. But for me, I think Sundowns have the experience. They've done this a few times now. And they've got a gap as well. I don't think anyone's going to catch them.
I agree with that. I think
How's that? The Sundowns fan agrees with that.
No, besides me being a fan, I think they've got the depth, they've got the experience, they've got the consistency this season. I don't see anybody else being able to catch them. And I agree with that. Orlando Pirates might be close by, but I don't think.
This is the PSL, guys. The PSL, look at the points difference now. The Pirates are 4 points behind, Chiefs are 5 points behind Sundowns. There's no games in hand, they played an even number of games. Pirates have got momentum. What happened in PE on Sunday? Pirates have, when the Pirates fans start buzzing, they're going to fill up Orlando stadiums, and I don't think Pirates will drop points. It's a derby this week.
Yes.
And look, the Kaizer Chiefs fans are frustrated because they drop points. They saw Sundowns drop points the previous day and they dropped points. But Pirates came through and they won. I'm going for Pirates. I think Pirates are going to surprise us. They won't drop points. They'll beat Chiefs this weekend and they'll carry the momentum and they'll win the league.
I think the one point that he's missing out on that is that Orlando Pirates is not so consistent. As much as they had a momentum this weekend, they have a tendency of kind of putting the brakes on in unnecessary moments, and I think they'll be under pressure this weekend. Beating Kune is not going to be easy, so I think this weekend is going to be a draw, and Sundowns is just going to extend that lead.
Let's throw it out there. The team that wins, okay, Chiefs are third and they're doing their business on and off. If Pirates wins this, does that give them confidence to go, we can chase, and we're still in it, actually. Not even chase, we're still in this. Yeah.
That's how you win the league. You use the momentum. Yes. I think Pirates have got it. I think they've got the momentum. The way they played, they came through. We don't know most of those players. And Sundowns have got the depth, they've got the money, they can buy the top players.
They can buy Bolt.
Chiefs are just inconsistent, All we see is Steve Hombela with his jersey, and it's just frustrating to watch because...
But speaking of that inconsistency, at what point does the chairman, does Bobby go, guys, we need the results? The Chiefs have just been,
I don't think
it has to be... you're accountable to shareholders, yes, it's a family business, but sponsors, at some point the results have to come because one, your locker room is full of superstars, your payroll at the end of the month is exorbitant, and these guys need to bring out the goods now.
Anyone can feel free to jump in here. I don't think Bobby Matang is a football man. In all honesty, I don't think he's in the business to win. I think you see Chiefs don't really have a transfer strategy. Chiefs don't really have, I guess, they don't set a high standard. The high standard that a lot of, I guess, Kaizer Chiefs fans grew up with. In my opinion, since he's taken over, I think that standard has fallen has fallen short. So I don't think Kombela will ever be in a position where I think his job is under threat. I think it should. I think as someone who's coaching Kaizer Chiefs, you need to at least win one trophy a season and be under pressure to a point. I don't think Steve is under pressure, so I don't see any
it's
changes
okay just to plateau.
I think they're happy. I think
their
they're happy.
position year on year.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think they're riding the wave of the legacy but aren't living the legacy. So the players that are there now are just riding this great wave of wearing this great badge, but are you living and understanding the legacy that you're carrying? And I don't think they've met the standard.
Should they clean up shop a little bit? Some players, we saw that in the last season, a few players had to go. Do you think it's also, in the...
Can I chip in?
Sometimes in the change room you have players who've been there, done that, and then towards the end of their career they haven't been winning a lot, so that mentality stays there of, we're just happy to do this. So you invigorate that change room with new youngsters who are wanting to win.
I think for me, it's, do you clean shop and are you able to select the right people from the shop? So there's no point in cleaning out and then getting people in there that are not going to make the impact. So you need to be able to have a scout. Able to buy smart.
If you go back to when Clive Baxter started coaching Chiefs, Kaizer Motaung actually came in and he cleaned up. He started buying players from scratch, from the defense. I think Bobby was still running the club. The club went through a bit of a lull. And then you saw the success of Kaizer Chiefs when Clive Baxter started coaching. He was handpicked by Kaizer. So this time, I think with Uchola being the coach and the players that we've got, they're buying players, ex-Sundowns players, and it's not really gelling. You can see there's no chemistry there. Kaizer Chiefs need wholesale changes. Wholesale changes from the top down. I mean, there's a lot of guys that have been there that, Chiefs is becoming a novelty and it's wearing off fast. It's wearing off fast. Even watching them is not as exciting. You see the sparse crowds at FNB Stadium. It's empty. It's becoming a novelty. And Sundowns has overtaken them. And now we can see Pirates is overtaking them because they've still got that vibe.
I think the last decent Kaizer Chiefs side was the side that Stuart Baxter had. But you can see even some of the players that he was able to get the best out of. And I'll use one player as an example, Bernard Parker. I think under Stuart Baxter, he was a decent attacking player. Whereas I think I watched the game on Saturday. He's got 2 goals this season. And he's supposed to be one of the senior, players, attacking players in the Kaizer Chiefs squad. If you've got one of your senior attacking players with 2 goals in a league season that's coming to an end, it just means that you're not scoring enough goals across the team.
Guys, we're looking at the Soweto derby this weekend, and a game that's always come with a lot of draws, unfortunately. And being a fan of the NBA, we know the NBA goes to overtime, double overtime, triple overtime. Can we get to a situation where we say second half of the season, maybe we throw it out there, the rules can change. Second half of the season, all games have to have a result. Are we going to see more competitive football? You don't want to go to penalties, you want that gamble, you start playing to win.
The risk there, Snacks, is that the players, the turnaround time and the recovery time of the players, you can't have players playing more than 90 minutes week in, week out. And plus the amount of trophies, because now we've got the Nedbank Cup.
Yeah, you've got trophies.
Yeah, so you've got trophies. So that would be the risk. I mean, other sports they can have, they'll ban out. Other sports you can have a shootout to get the 1 point. But I think we've had draws now for the last 3 consecutive derbies. 0-0 draws, not exciting.
That's the thing. It's becoming.
I think they're gonna break the duck this week. I've just got a feeling because it's out there. Players know it's a derby, and we've become as a football not a fraternity, like football supporters in this country. We only watch the derby.
Because as a player, you don't have to get hyped up for the derby. I mean, if you're needing to get hyped up for a derby, there's a problem because you should be anyway. It's like you hear the old school stories that they would stand in the tunnel and not even talk to each other. Now there's a little friendly banter and stuff, but it's become a little bit friendly. But old school derbies was the biggest thing, in the season. So these guys now, we get into a stage where it's just content to, we drew.
Plus, there's no superstars between both teams. The thing is, superstars make teams. Once you've got a superstar in a team, he wants to win at all costs. You know, we can look across all sports. Chiefs, who's the super sport? The last superstar Chiefs had was, I would say, Shuffle. I mean, who's the superstar at Chiefs? Who's the superstar at Pirates now?
Chiefs superstars, Kune.
You see, you've got a goalkeeper.
Goalkeeper is your superstar.
The goalkeeper is the
Yeah.
star of the team, which means we're going to be defensive. We're going to be, the focal point will be Kune and all his exes.
All right, I know I'm going to get taken apart if I don't go back to Man United versus Chelsea this weekend. Great game, probably the best game of the weekend, and we're getting to that uncomfortable spot for the fourth position. Chelsea might not make it. Man United are back in second position. Who do you think is creeping up on that fourth position? And just your thoughts on the game.
The game itself was, I thought Chelsea dominated the first half, especially the first 40 minutes. You know, obviously there was a lot of talk before the game about Conte versus Mourinho. Not too, that side of the game doesn't excite me a lot, because I think mind games are an old thing these days, you know, and especially when, you know, I think Chelsea have been better than Manchester United since, I guess, Mourinho went to Manchester United. It even gives less weight to this idea that, you know, Mourinho had this mental hold over Conte. But I think...
But those mind games, let me ask you a question. If a journalist is not writing about those mind games, they're writing about Morata who hasn't scored. So as a coach, are you willing to go, I'll take it this week? And rather have Conte have those mind games with Mourinho, because you know that if it's not happening like that, and they're writing about the two of us, they're writing about a Morata who hasn't shown up this season. So is there a bit of that maybe? Because you know Jose used to play that game.
There is. I mean, he seems to be, I guess, a lot of people seem to think that he's very good at, I guess, taking the pressure away from his team. From his time back in his first Chelsea side, that seems to be the impression, I guess. But again, for me, I don't know. It is a sideline show. At the end of the day, the result and the table and the log is what dictates.
I think it's a tactic. It's off-field banter is also a tactic. So it takes away that pressure from the players to have to focus on what the journalists or the crowds are saying about them, and the coaches are taking that on their behalf. I think it's a smart tactic, and those that use it well works for them, and those that can't, then it doesn't excite them.
Yeah, but guys, I've got a different take on this, especially when it comes to Mourinho. You know, with Mourinho, you get the winning coach, you get all of that, but he also wants to be the sideshow.
Yes.
Because as a coach, you want to maximize your best player's potential. You know, the story leading up to this game was about Pogba. Him coming on as a sub, he wasn't feeling, he was playing out of position, and coming into this game, we were all wondering if Pogba was going to start and where he was going to play, because the argument is he going to play the 6 or the 8 or the 10, which is all, you know, the attacking midfield or defensive midfield, you know, because Mourinho insists on his players defending. And so the game basically was dictated by Chelsea, and we forgot all of that. Actually, I was surprised how the game went. It went better than I thought. I thought it was going to be a cagey chess match, and it became, you know, and De Gea made a mistake. I was shocked. I mean, the first goal, De Gea could have saved.
Spider-Man. We expect him to save him.
Yeah, I guess there's those. I guess when you look at how much power he put behind it and how much time he had, like I say, for the first 40 minutes it was all Chelsea, and I think if they had gone into half time with the lead, they probably would have won the game. But having played 5 minutes, the United were on par, and I think they came out in the second half and they did what they needed to do. They didn't dominate the game, but they certainly made sure that, I guess, Chelsea's dangerous players, which was Willian and Hazard in the first half, they didn't get as much
someone who
service as
pitched
they got
up in
the
a
second.
big game, who has been criticised for not pitching up in big games, Lukaku. Man of the match performance?
I was shocked.
Look,
Look, I felt when they bought Lukaku for that amount of money, it was a waste, because I felt he was. But I think he scores. I mean, you want a guy that scores. Against the...
Some people say in the lesser games. That's
Of course, that's the criticism. That's the biggest criticism of Lukaku.
He played well, and I think because of the pressure and everything, which is what United need. I think if you look at that game, most of the United stars were under pressure. if most of them didn't perform in that game, they would, Man United fans are very fickle. They're used to success.
Yeah.
So if those guys, especially Sanchez, Lukaku, Pogba, if they didn't perform, I mean, we can argue that Lingard saved them, but it was a good game. They played well, and in a tough game. We'll see them on the 10th.
Oh, the Liverpool fans. I'm going to put you guys on the spot here. We'll get to the end of the season. Wenger in, Wenger out. I just want an in, out, in, out, in. In?
For my own selfish reasons.
By the end of the season.
I'll just oppose you and say out.
I think he's going to fall on his sword. It's been
It's
too long.
out.
He's out.
End of the
He's out.
season.
Yeah, I'm Arsenal. I pull the plug now.
Yeah.
Just because the way they played, they tapped out in the first half in the League Cup final.
Yeah.
They tapped out. It was like,
Take it.
Yeah.
first half, the game was over. I mean, they
Yeah,
didn't
it
show
was.
up. If a team doesn't show up, it's a coaching
I think the
problem.
body language, you could just see straight away, the body language of the players was just poor.
I think the word of the day on Arsenal TV or Arsenal fan TV afterwards was spineless. And I think that pretty much describes
Yeah.
Arsenal figuratively and literally at the moment. I think spine generally in football speaks to things like determination, work rate,
holds everything
never say
together,
die.
yeah.
It holds everything together essentially. And Arsenal, I think for the past 5 years have just had zero spine.
Because they've won a couple of FA Cups. Ace, come on, let's give Wenger. Wenger has managed to keep people quiet, with
Fair
fourth
enough.
place and
But
FA
that's
Cups.
guys the Chiefs then. Then we're saying this again, it's that you're quite happy just to win a
Be on
cup
the
here,
plateau.
get to Nedbank Cup final or get to FA Cup final. and
Chiefs
you-
I think what's more than anything, you have to look at Wenger in context. You look at Wenger in 1997 and what he was and what he represented in the English Premier League, and he kind of represented the future if you think about it. For the longest time,
development,
Arsenal
yeah.
were associated with playing the best football in England, the most most attacking, most attractive football. You look at Arsenal today, and a lot of the times when I watch their games, I fall asleep. They just don't have what they used to have.
I said this on episode 2. Wenger is outdated.
Yes.
He's outdated. He's way past his prime. And he cannot catch up with the new coaches,
Yeah.
the way they play. Like Klopp and Pep Guardiola.
yeah.
I mean, even the guy who's coaching Atletico Madrid, Diego Simeone.
yeah.
If you look at the young coaches, if the guy who's coaching Barcelona, these guys have just evolved.
Yeah.
And Wenger is still...
He's still innovating in 2001, basically.
He better go. I mean, Arsenal fans are frustrated. I can understand. I mean, as a Liverpool fan, I know being a frustrated fan when everything falls apart.
Yeah.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, wrap it up there for this segment. We're looking forward to the Soweto derby this weekend. And a few are saying Kaizer Chiefs might come good, and a few are saying Orlando Pirates might come good. We'll see that on Saturday.